for the big events in your neighborhood.
Weather Channel has you covered from coast to coast, and man, there's been a lot to talk about lately. Some of those videos from the flooding coming out yesterday, I was like, oh, you hate to see that. Especially, normally when there's this big flooding risk, I'm kind of expecting to see those videos. That caught me a little off guard, actually, in places like Dallas.
I mean, so many times we get these thunderstorms that just sit and they dump inches of rain in a short period of time. And unfortunately, Felicia, that seems to be happen way too often.
I know, I shouldn't be shocked by a flooding video anymore because it's kind of a new one every day. And then, of course, if you're not dealing with the rain and the flooding, you've got the heat or the smoke.
Exactly. We have a lot out there right now. We'll get through the radar and show you what's going to pop later today. I know some of you are trying to make your plans. It's hard in these kind of situations.
Right. It's like popcorn storms. Where is it going to pop up? Where is it going to be? And that's kind of been the story for the next couple, or the last few days and the next couple days.
Well, there's a couple of spots out there where the weather has been quite interesting to watch here. You got to check out this time lapse from Vancouver Island. First of all, this is just a beautiful place. If you're lucky enough to vacation here or live here, but watch the clouds, and it's so instructive as to how air is forced up by the terrain or graphic lift. You see those clouds forming?
That is amazing. Just absolutely amazing. It really is a good study. I think we said a study in how you see the wind, or I mean, you can't see the wind, but you can obviously see the direction of the flow hitting the mountain, being forced up, forced into condensation mode, forced into forming that cloud, and then how that kind of continues downstream a bit. And then, of course, that rain shadow that you can get sometimes on the other side of that.
Right, the cloud kind of fizzles out afterwards here as you start to get the sinking air on the other side. As our pal Alex Wallace always says, there is no such thing as a bad time lapse, and this one is phenomenal.
This one is amazing. He's sad he's missing it, for sure. We'll share it with him later, though. Okay, we're getting really lucky that tree behind it didn't fall into the vehicle and instead fell behind the vehicle. Let's take a look at what's happening over the past 24 hours. You can see our wind reports as this cluster of storms filled in across the northeast up through New England, and then also watching this kind of convective system here diving southward with wind reports there around Minneapolis, and then another one. You're kind of seeing the pattern that we're stuck in here, which is these pulses of energy that are bringing us kind of round and round of storm chances, one after another. So that is what we're keeping an eye on here. We are going to have that possibility for some stronger storms once again today. Rain has been falling. It's going to keep falling, so we're starting to see some flooding alerts popping up here for portions of southern Maine. You can see that rain moving through, a flash flood warning there. And we're going to continue with these showers throughout the morning, the cloud cover as well. A closer look at that flash flood warning here just to the south of Portland, Maine. You've got that for Scarborough, South Portland as well. That's until 9:30 a.m. We've got radar and gauge indicated. So this is there's some ground truth to this flash flood warning. So just be careful if you're headed out. You can see portions of that 95 corridor included in that as well. So you could have some ponding on the roadways, could have some issues with some slowdowns as you're heading to work this morning or as you're just heading out in general. You can see over the flood reports that we're getting up to around 2-3 inches in a short period of time. So that is going to add up really quickly, and that's going to cause some issues like we're already seeing. Looking at this area of storm, this diving south just to the west of Minneapolis, you can kind of see a little bit of that backwards bow shape, maybe a bit of gusty wind within that. Certainly lots of lightning and heavy rain with this as well. So we're going to keep an eye on that as it makes its way south into southern Minnesota. That is going to be one of those ones you want to just wait for it to zoom past before you leave for work. You don't want to be leaving in that if you can. You can see our setup that we've got going on here. These storms diving south as this trough is going to eventually end up swinging through and bringing a better chance for some of those storms to the northeast as we head into the latter part of the week. So Jen, we're dealing with rounds and rounds of storms here, but other places I think would love a little storm. You can see this is what we are actually seeing right now. This is in Hartsfield Jackson Airport in Atlanta. A lot of lines, a lot of frustrated travelers. Now, you do typically see it's the busiest airport in the world, they say. So you are typically going to see quite a few people there. But when we're looking at this, man, that is a lot of people dealing with still those travel delays. So that is not at all what you want to be dealing with, especially when we have that possibility for more rounds of storms later today, which of course could cause a few more delays. The good news is this morning in terms of weather related delays at ATL, we're not dealing with any of those. We've got the green bubble on the map. You can see the flights coming in and out there. We've got a lot of green bubbles on the map starting off our morning, but as we've seen recently, you get those afternoon storms to bubble up, and that can start to create those delays, mount those delays a bit. Across the Northeast, same thing, lots of green bubbles. We love to see it. The problem is later on in the day when we have the storms bubble leveling up across the country, and it causes those delays to kind of domino. Because, you know, it might be fine where you are. Weather could be perfect, but maybe where your flight was coming from or where you're going, the weather is getting messy. So we are expecting more weather-related delays across the northern tier, the Great Lakes region, down across the southeast as well. Maybe some more weather-related delays across Texas. So do just keep that in mind. Tomorrow, the same thing. We're kind of on a rinse and repeat pattern here. So many of the areas that are getting rain today are going to get rain and storms tomorrow as well. So you just have those delays kind of mounting up. You're going to want to plan for that and plan accordingly. Heading into Thursday, it's a lot of the same story, guys. I wish I could tell you things were getting better for some of our major hubs in the Northeast or for ATL, but we are keeping those chances for showers and storms around into the latter part of the week. So you're really not seeing it get any better. That means the people who have been experiencing delays and maybe had to reschedule could continue to experience some of those delays. It's not just weather related, but of course we saw some of those technical technical issues impacting us. They're anything but delicious. They're really terrible, actually. So hoping everyone by Thursday can get in the place that they're going. But for now, we're expecting some of those airport delays. Jen,
you hungry for breakfast there, Felicia? Water, right?
Yeah.
We are concerned again about this super typhoon that is going to first affect Taiwan and then move on to hit mainland China. It is super typhoon with winds at 105 miles per hour. This is Gai Mi, and you can see it out there continuing to track towards Taiwan. This will be in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, you can see that as just a massive system, the way it's impacting the weather all around it. Winds at 105 miles an hour expected to strengthen as it continues moving north. So, you know, we'll be keeping an eye on that. You don't want to see any more flooding in a region that's already very wet.
Meanwhile, on the Atlantic side of things here, it's been quiet. We have not had any active storms here last week. We don't anticipate this week either. The dust, the Saharan air layer has been a big part of that. And you can actually see the dust showing up on the visible satellite.
Yeah, a lot of dust. You know, a couple different things other than just the dust. But the dust, a big component of this and one that we can actually see and feel here.
Speaks to the sinking air that's happening, which does not promote tropical development, which has been good for now. Well, stay weather aware with the TWC
conditions. So many fires burning across portions of Canada right now, and we're starting to see those numbers tick up in the west for fires as well. Take a look at our fire alerts that we have up today. You can see this including a large chunk of western portions of Montana, fire weather watch, and then a red flag warning up around Shelby because the temperatures are so high. It is so hot. We're about 10 to 15 degrees above average around this region. And then we've got very low relative humidity. And we've also got those winds picking up as we're watching our next system moving in. So that potential for isolated dry thunderstorms today stretching across that elevated area for fire potential. And we're all the way down through Silver City. So there's a large area that has that possibility for dry thunderstorms today, which of course can cause big problems. When you don't have any rain actually falling on where that lightning might strike, you get a higher possibility for wildfires. Here's the setup of dry lightning. You've got that thunderstorm, it's forming. You've got plenty of atmospheric dynamics to maybe get that thunderstorm going. And typically you'll get some rain coming down from that thunderstorm. And so if any lightning strikes, that means you're going to get the rain kind of washing it out or putting out any fire that might start. But when you have low humidity, you get those higher based clouds, and that means the rain is evaporating before it's reaching the ground. So you can still get those lightning strikes. The lightning strikes, the rain isn't reaching the ground, and then you're seeing that possibility for those fires to start and then grow really quickly, because a lot of times those storms are also coming along with wind, and that wind is going to help spread that fire as well. The fire potential for tomorrow, you can see scattered dry thunderstorms highlighted here, overlapping some portions of that elevated fire potential tomorrow. So the fire potential out here and the risk of that is getting higher as we head into tomorrow as well. Well, wildfires and destructive and dangerous side of the river in Queens at Gantry Park, looking back at the city with one of the prettiest views around. Now, fog and clouds are going to give way to rain and storms that are to stay and stick around during the week. Now, you want to be on the lookout for flash flooding, especially if you're, say, riding the subway. And speaking of subway, that rain put a damper on the Mets and Yankees subway series tonight and tomorrow at Yankee Stadium. Rain sticking around on and off. Not a complete washout, but certainly going to be a wet time. And that's really our story for, say the rest of the work week. You can see we've got light rain coming down right now. We're in the lower 70s. That visibility down to about 3 miles. So a little bit of light rain obscuring your view as you're heading out. Maybe take the rain boots and the rain jacket, as we're not done with the rain for today, and even better chances of rain as we head through the week. You can see a lot of our heavier rain has pushed farther north, seeing some flooding alerts starting to pop up there in Maine earlier this morning. Most of that heavier rain is going to continue lifting northeast and eventually pushing out of eastern Maine there. Watching this complex of storms diving south through Minnesota. Currently lots of lightning, heavy rain associated with this, maybe some gusty winds as well. That is going to continue its trek south after we already had a round of storms yesterday and last night. Here's our setup. We've got this trough that's going to be swinging through. This is going to provide some of our energy to get those storms going heading into the latter part of the week as it swings through the northeast. Those pulses of energy, that trough itself, all going to help us get those storms ramping up just a little bit. That risk for an isolated severe storm or two around the Great Lakes region for the interior northeast. Now, our main risk for tomorrow with any of these storms that get going for Syracuse over to Buffalo down into Cleveland, it's going to be those gusty winds and maybe a little bit of hail. And then, of course, the heavy rain coming along with this as well. So let's time it out for you. You've got that rain across New England, up through Maine. By 6 p.m., you'll notice, again, we're watching some of those showers and storms with heavier rain across West Virginia into Virginia. D.C., you'll get some of that action as well. And then the interior areas of the Northeast with some of those showers and storms. Now, watch what happens as we head through Wednesday. We'll watch as some of that energy starts to swing through and increases the coverage of rain and the amount and also the intensity. That's the word I'm looking for. The intensity of the rain as that swings through. So heavier rain could lead to a bit more flash flooding issues before all is said and done. Jen, it's like here and in the southeast, we're stuck in this kind of messy pattern for really the rest.
We've had a lot of smoke, actually. When you see that, I mean, this is the smoke emission over the past 24 hours from some from fires in Canada, but really affecting not necessarily your breathing, but at least your sky cover all the way down through the plains.
Oh, yeah. You can see how far-reaching that smoke is. This is the smoke emission over the past 24 hours. It's been really bad. See, yesterday. It's going to be pretty bad today as well, but the good news is we've got some relief in sight because of the pattern changing.
Yes. Now, there is some air quality concerns in Montana. In Montana, look, we've got multiple issues. One is the heat, and the other is that smoke. And so we've got the air quality alerts that are up there, Great Falls, over towards Glasgow. And, you know, especially sensitive groups, you want to avoid outdoor exertion because that's when the air is going to be at its worst in the afternoon. Oh, yeah. We've got that. Of course, we know air quality affects the way we breathe, but many factors, as Jen was just mentioning, can lead to that poor air quality, and concentrations of that ground level ozone or particulate matter are common factors, and that is what is being worse when you have all of the wildfire smoke and all those particulates in the air. You know, it's interesting too, because now particulates are at play here. It's not just ozone. Particulates can be a problem with people with heart disease. So you generally think if you have lung problems, you know, if you have asthma, emphysema, you have trouble breathing, that air quality is a problem for you. Right. But air quality is also a problem if you have heart disease with what we're dealing with, which is the smoke. Yeah, and one of the things that's exacerbating this is the fact that we have just well above average temperatures. We're looking at 10, 15 degrees above average, and you can see when you have the higher temperatures, that can speed up those chemical reactions. So that can take what is kind of a toxic air mass and make it worse. Yes, exactly. So let's look at the pattern and the weather that we're going to be dealing with. We've got the heat, that's for sure. Look at Helena, 102 today. Oof. It is so hot out there. It is stifling. Now, this isn't something that you're, terribly unfamiliar with across this region. You know it gets hot. You deal with the wildfire smoke, but it doesn't make it any better. It doesn't make it any easier to deal with. 102 in Boise. Those temperatures are well above average and near records. And actually, yeah, tying records maybe in Glasgow, 108. We're looking at Pocatello coming in close to a record. We're all within a degree or two of these record temperatures up here in Idaho and Montana and even spots in Wyoming. Yeah, so it is hot. Now, as I mentioned, stifling heat, the smoke, all of that, it's pretty bad today. I'll give you that. That smoke is sticking around. But watch what happens Wednesday. The smoke is still kind of there. We start to see a little bit of relief because of that pattern switch as we head into Thursday and Friday. And I think a lot of people are going to be looking forward to that. Yeah, the wind direction is everything actually here, kind of helping. So some of the impacts and what you can do, stay indoors if possible. You might want to use a respirator outdoors here. And if you're driving, you want to set your AC on recirculate. So you don't want to bring the outside outside area and you just want to recirculate the air you have inside.
Yeah, some of those can make all the difference. You know, I have a just changes a filter in one of my air purifiers at home, and I was so shocked at just seeing how dirty that filter is. I'm like, that took everything out. So having an air purifier can make all the difference as well when you're talking about helping your air quality inside your home a little bit.
We have a big ridge of high pressure that's been controlling our weather for so long. We actually finally get a break from that by the end of the week into the weekend. A dip in the jet stream is going to bring some heat relief. So at least that is coming. Yeah,
that's going to switch our pattern a little bit and move that smoke along. And as Jen mentioned, so you'll get a little bit of a break from the heat and from the smoke. I think a lot of people are going to be literally sighing with relief from that.
Oh, it'll have you going outside here and hopefully enjoying the weather. We've also had the summer storms, and they have been
on the Weather Channel, of course, your travel HQ. So let's check the forecast for the highways and the skyways. Some of the areas that do not need rain, like around Houston, are getting more rain today. Back through San Antonio, you've got that risk for some airport impacts from weather, and then you can see we're spreading that over into airports in Memphis, MSY there in New Orleans, as well as we've got showers and storms that will be bubbling up yet again today. Our typical summertime pattern, just a little enhanced today. I think we're going to have a bit more coverage for those showers and thunderstorms across the Gulf Coast states today than we did yesterday. You can see rounds of rain and storms. Once again, flash flooding is possible. And of course, you've got some lightning coming along with that as well. So maybe give yourself a little bit of extra time as you're heading out, going on your lunch break, getting off of work, whatever you might be doing, because we know that needs to slow you down a little bit with those roads being wet. We're seeing flooding issues, flooding alerts popping up here just north of Del Rio and San Antonio. We're watching some of that heavier rain, maybe a bit of gusty wind moving to its south and east. Those flood alerts are going to stay up because the rain is continuing to fall. We've kind of got a boundary there that is acting as a focal point for those showers just lining up over that same region. You'll also notice how we have this influx of moisture coming off the Gulf for the Texas Gulf Coastal Plain and then up across southern Louisiana as well. So we've got some of that rain that's going to continue moving in. Let's take a look at where that rain's moving through. Currently, Houston, a few little light showers for you up over that I-10 corridor as well. And then mainly light rain, but some pockets of heavier rain in there. Let's time it out for you, just in case you need to plan out your Tuesday. Rounds of rain going to continue the way that rain is lifting north off the Gulf. This is going to be some heavy moisture rain. So this is going to be heavy rain. That visibility is going to be reduced if you're on I-10. Watch what happens as we're heading into 5 o'clock. We're seeing some of those showers and storms building in. Conroe, you've got those storms around that 5 o'clock hour as you're getting off of work. And then we're continuing into the nighttime hours with some of that rain hanging around. It's just a messy pattern, and we're adding more rain on top of already very saturated ground here for the Texas Gulf Coastal Plain, Jen. So that is kind of the last area of Texas where we need more rain. We wish we could shift it a little bit farther west.
I know, exactly. And want to get everyone caught up with what you
work. I don't know if you're like me, but I bring about 17 bags with me to work. So when I
do the same.
When I have to carry in my 17 bags and my umbrella and my cup of coffee, I'm like, oh no.
I know you're not the only ones, right? You've got your work bag, you've got your bag of extra clothes for the gym after you got your lunch bag, right, your shoe bag.
Exactly. You've got all, and then the umbrella and the coffee. So
it does not work.
No, maybe a weekday when I don't have to carry everything with me.
I do not mind a rainy day on the weekend every once in a while.
Me too, like a good split weekend where you can go out and do things on one day and the other day you relax and do laundry.
You can sleep, you can get stuff done.
Yeah,
go to Threads, send us your comments, also share your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV, and we'll be sharing on the show.
Oh, I wanted to show you how lucky the car was. Well, there's a tree that falls behind that car. You can kind of see it lying down there in that video, but the car is fine. But it just goes to show you, you can see it there. See, the orange car is fine, but the tree behind it is laid down. If it had blown the other way, that would have been on that car. So, you know, it doesn't always take some major crazy outbreak of weather, hours of crazy weather, tornadoes, anything like that. Sometimes it could be that gust of wind that lasts a couple seconds, bringing the tree down on your car that ruins your day. And that's why we say you want to take seriously whenever we're talking about that risk for severe storms. Here is a look at the storm reports from the past 24 hours. You can see as this swath of rain lifted across the northeast, we got some wind reports, a few flooding reports here or there. And then you can watch as this first pocket of storminess moves down through the Great Lakes region, watching that other area of storminess that dropped a little bit of hail that's still trying to make its way southward. So we are still dealing with some of that storminess hanging around out there. Rain is the story currently across Maine, some of the heavier rain across eastern portions of Maine. We've got some showers moving through Vermont, New Hampshire as well. We did have some flooding issues here just south of Portland, but that seems to have cleared up now that flash flood alert has been let go. But you can still see there is rain around. We've gotten some 2 to 3 inches in some places. Could have some ponding on the roadways there, especially along a major corridor like 95. So maybe give yourself a little bit of extra time. Now, this is one of the storminess, one of the systems that's been diving southward through Minnesota. Dropped a little bit of hail earlier during the overnight hours. Now it's just kind of diving southward. Lots of lightning, heavy rain with that, maybe some gusty winds as well. What we're watching is this trough. You can kind of see the dipping in this that's going to eventually end up swinging eastward and help to bring us some of that messy weather that we're expecting tomorrow. I think we've got a better chance for some feistier storms tomorrow for the interior northeast. You've got that disturbance swinging through, helping to add support and lift in the atmosphere to get those storms to maybe reach severe limits. So for tomorrow, that risk of severe storms for cities like Cleveland, Buffalo, Syracuse, you're all included in that. Main risks here going to be gusty winds, maybe a little bit of hail as well. Timing it out for you, you'll notice we've got that smattering of showers and storms again around that 6 o'clock hour. So some of those mountain roads through Virginia and West Virginia, those could be having some of those heavy downpours as you're getting off of work. And then you'll notice we see that become more widespread heading through Wednesday with that trough swinging through. Jen, you know, we're seeing rounds and rounds of rain and storms here. We kind of wish we could decide the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport in Atlanta. Pretty busy right now. We know this is a busy airport anyways, but a lot of lines, a lot of frustrated travelers. This is what it's looking like. You can see people kind of camping out there. That is not at all what you want to be dealing with. I just want to remind everyone as you're traveling, maybe you're really frustrated. Those people that are working for the airline, they are doing the best they can. It is not their fault. So just remember, try to react with kindness, even though I know a lot of us are probably feeling some frustration. If there's some silver lining, it's at least that the weather's cooperating. No delays right now around ATL. You can see the flights in and out of there sitting in the lower 80s. Maybe not the silver lining here, as we've got that chance for storms later on today, which again could bring us some delays. Across the southeast, lots of green bubbles on the map. Green for go means we are just fine, but it is going to continue to be an active weather pattern that we're stuck in across this region. So as you know, that could cause some of those delays. Across the northeast, again, lots of green bubbles right now. And that's really the story across the country. Not seeing any major delays popping up currently, but with the forecast that we have in place today, that will likely change. When you've got those storms coming into major hubs like ATL, like ORD, down through Texas as well. It's not always about where you are or where you're flying. Sometimes it's where your flight is coming from. So we could see those delays start to mount, especially across the southeast again today. Tomorrow, not much of a change. I know I started with kind of a little bit of a high saying that we're good to go starting off our day, but got to keep you informed that tomorrow we could have some issues as well. You can see up through, say, Boston, Logan tomorrow, some showers and storms around there, that 95 corridor for the roadways, and then the skyways in the same region dealing with that possibility for some weather-related airport impacts across the southeast. Again, on Thursday, it's like a rinse and repeat pattern that we're in. I know everyone's frustration. It's kind of at an all-time high with all the delays and the flying, whether it's been with the weather or the technical glitches that we've seen, Jen. But you just got to remember that you're not the only one that's frustrated, and sometimes a smile can make all the difference.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
So true.
What do you think? You know, it's funny that this viewer would say that, because I was saying from a meteorologist standpoint, the last thing I want is scattered heavy showers, because that's the type of weather that's really hard to predict. And that's the type of weather that will have someone say, you said it was going to rain, and it didn't rain at my house, but it rained crazy like a half mile away.
And also if you get caught in that, you're drenched.
Exactly.
Well, you can go to Thread, send us your comments, also share your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV. And boats?
The rain that we're getting dry thunderstorms. We are getting, you know, excessive heat that is well above average, and really low humidity. So we're just not getting a lot of help from Mother Nature fighting these fires. The fire alerts that we have up here across Montana, fire weather watch, red flag warning in Shelby. I was just checking. In Shelby, we're sitting at 65 degrees, and that dew point is 49. As that temperature continues to go up, we're not seeing that dew point really go up. So that means that our relative relative humidity is going to get lower, and that red flag warning is in place for that reason, as well as the possibility for some winds and, of course, that heat that we've got. Elevated fire risk across northern portions of Montana, Great Falls included in that, with those isolated dry thunderstorms. These are such a culprit this time of year for this region. You get the thunderstorm to form, and then you get, most times with the thunderstorm, you get the rain to reach the ground. So if you happen to have lightning strike, the rain puts that fire out that's caused by the lightning. We've got that low cloud base when you have plenty of humidity. But when you have low humidity, like we have across a lot of this region, you get that high cloud base and drier air underneath it. So all the rain is doing is evaporating as it's falling through that dry air. The lightning strikes, there's no rain to put out the fire, and then you're dealing with those wildfires sparking up. So scattered dry thunderstorms here across a large chunk of Idaho, getting into that. Oregon, Washington, both dealing with, that was my earring that just fell out, both dealing with that possibility for the fire potential. So keep an eye on that, guys. We've got that lightning intensity forecast that we'll be dealing with today, and you can see it bubbling up here across the region. When you've got that much lightning and not a whole lot of humidity, it could definitely cause you some issues. Well, wildfires are destructive when we take a look at that. Well, Boston is another spot that will need to be on alert for storms this week. We're starting off the day cloudy, but the first showers of the day, they're going to roll in quickly. The chance of rain is going to continue into tonight, tomorrow, and even into your Thursday before finally clearing out for the weekend, putting a lid on those temperatures as well. I was like, I wonder what's happening in Boston this morning. Let me take a look at that dew point. It's feeling balmy out there, Boston. You got a dew point sitting in the mid-60s right now. So with the temperatures in the lower 70s and the dew point in the mid-60s, you're feeling some of that humidity as you're heading out. We've got some cloudy conditions sticking around. Not much of a breeze, very light breeze there as well. Coming out of the southeast, though, so you know you're getting some of that moisture transported in. Most of our rain is more for the interior areas right now, lifting up through Maine, as well as some of that heavier rain hanging out over eastern Maine. And it's not just there where we're watching some of the showers and storms swing through Milwaukee. You're about to get a little rain. And then watching this cluster of thunderstorms diving south through Minnesota right now. You already had a round of storms overnight last night and earlier this morning, so now you're getting another one. You're kind of stuck in that line of fire from the pattern that we've got set up. The good news is we're going to see this swinging through. So those of you, say, across the Great Lakes region have been stuck in round after round of pulses of energy bringing you the storms. We're going to watch that energy swing southward, swing eastward, and that is going to bring more storm action to, say, the northeast, but it's going to give you a little bit of a break in some of those places like, say, Minneapolis, where you've had rounds and rounds of storms, one right after another. So tomorrow we're looking at that risk for severe storms. We watch as that risk ramps up just a little bit for your Wednesday for cities like Cleveland, Syracuse, Binghamton. The main risk with these storms tomorrow are going to be those gusty winds, maybe a little bit of hail, and then, of course, the heavy rain, too. So let's put this into motion for you. You can see those scattered showers and storms bubbling up as we head through our Tuesday. We're watching, we could have some heavy rain, maybe a few feisty storms here or there, but it's really Wednesday where we see better coverage, more intensity coming out of those storms, especially for the interior northeast. As mentioned, some of those are going to have those gusty winds along with them as well. And then that's continuing into our Thursday. So with all the rain that we've seen and with more rain in the forecast, flash flooding is a concern. You see that across the Great Lakes region and then up and down that 95 corridor as well. That ground is getting pretty soggy in some places, even though, Jen, we're still trying to get rid of the drought for some of these places across the Mid-Atlantic.
No, like the Mid-Atlantic.
Nothing in there, but you have it.
And you're not sick.
You're not sick, and there's not a fire burning, right next door, but you're still getting that smoke. That smoke can travel so far, as we can see right here.
Yeah, so this is the past 24 hours, and certainly in parts of Oregon where we've been dealing some active fires here and the smoke nearby, that's one of the toughest areas too. But we've got smoke that has extended all the way down into Colorado. You can even see it in the sky up there over Nebraska and parts of Kansas. And while it might not be super thick here, some of it is coming down to ground level and making it tough for breathing.
Yeah, and then of course you've got the heat as well. So you've got the above average temperatures along with the smoke, making it really difficult on everyone, but especially the sensitive groups.
Well, heat and humidity can make it harder to breathe, especially if you have respiratory problems. Air quality plummets and can get even worse when wildfire smoke is in the atmosphere. Meteorologist Alex Wilson takes a look at your health in these conditions and what you should know. You might just feel like you're out of shape. You know, but it's much more serious than that, actually.
Right, exactly. When you're struggling to breathe and catch your breath, and you're like, this isn't normal.
Right.
You might want to sometimes check what is going on, because you know, we're all so busy in our daily lives that you might not even realize that you're being impacted by smoke from wildfires or other particulates. The air quality might not be great.
Happening so far away. We do have the air quality advisories that are out there too, and you can see. Look at all these air quality alerts. I mean, from Washington and Oregon to Idaho to Montana to Wyoming to a lot of Colorado.
Yeah, and it's not just for the unhealthy groups. I mean, those are who we're aiming this at mostly, but it's for everyone, as Jen mentioned. It can impact you in the worst ways. If you're feeling some of those impacts, the best way to avoid it is to stay indoors. But how do you do that? You got to go to work, you got to run errands, whatever else you have to do.
So just limiting what you do outside. So again, you saw not exercising outside, paying attention to those local advisories. You know, as we think about who's impacted by this, people with asthma, emphysema, any people who are very young or very old are most impacted. But people with heart disease, which is a lot of population, are also really impacted when the particulates are bad, which particulates are in wildfire smoke. And so this is a big part of the story right now. I want to make sure everyone plays it safe.
Right, and not to mention the above average temperatures. And we know the higher temperatures make that even worse.
We also have summer storms out there, and they have been relentless across the south and the southeast, and we are still not done with the rain.
No, so related airport delays later. Of course, Weather Channel is your travel HQ, so we'll keep a check of that for you, let you know what's going on. That risk for airport-related or weather-related airport delays later today across that I-10 corridor, across the south, the Gulf Coast region, Little Rock, Memphis, maybe a few weather-related airport delays as well, as those storms will be bubbling up later on this afternoon into this evening, and of course we know that could cause some of those delays across this region. Some of those heavy showers and storms could be part of the problem. I'm like in a blocked zone. There we go. My clicker is deciding where it wants to click this morning. So if you see me moving my arm all around looking like I'm doing aerobics over here, I'm just trying to get my clicker to click my graphics through. We've got rounds of rain and storms that could be impacting you on the roadways, not just in the skyways. We've got some storms moving towards San Antonio and Austin right now. You can see some of that heavy rain with those flood alerts that we have up, so certainly some ponding on the roadways possible. Right now, Houston, just a few showers moving through, but that is going to become more widespread across that I-10 corridor as we move through the afternoon. So, Jen, some flash flooding certainly possible. Sometimes I think the answer to the question depends on what you're getting right now.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're getting like just this crazy heat that some of us are dealing with, you're like, you know what, let it rain all day. I just want the rain. I want it to be cool. Maybe I'll go out and stand in it.
Right, I know, because that sprinkle in Texas is doing nothing.
No, it's not. All it's doing is making it more humid.
Right, exactly.
Right, exactly. Well, you can go to Thread. You can send us your comments. Share your pictures, your video by using the hashtag YesTV. We love seeing the answers because they always bring up a good point.
Something that we might have thought of, so keep them coming.
Hopefully they're rushing in to get inside the building before any of those storms hit. I know that quite often we'll pay a lot of attention if we're under, say, a tornado warning or a tornado risk, but those winds within the severe thunderstorms, or even in some of the thunderstorms, if they don't reach severe limits, can do some damage themselves. So you want to pay attention to that. Take a look at those storm reports from the past 24 hours. The two different areas that we're watching, you can see these storms as they moved through the Northeast, some wind damage reports, and then some wind reports here from this first complex of systems that moved through Minnesota, and then a little bit of hail with the second one that we're actually still watching dive southward. So it's been an active 24 hours with some of these storms bumbling up, and we're not done yet. We've got some rain moving through. The heaviest rain that we've got on the map right now is for down east Maine, the eastern portions of the state. They're starting to see that rain clear out along the 95 corridor for at least Maine, but still some showers moving through Vermont, New Hampshire, a little bit of cloud cover as well. Had some flooding south of Portland earlier, but right now that is all cleared out. But that is not to say that you might not still have some ponding here or there. Taking a look at that complex of storms that's diving into southern Minnesota right now, well west of Minneapolis as this was diving south. You can see the backward C shape, maybe some gusty winds with this, certainly a lot of lightning, some heavy rain. That energy is going to continue its trek southward over the next several hours or so. Our setup really is, we've got this kind of mini dip in the jet stream, or this small trough that's going to be swinging through and eventually swinging east, swinging south as well. And that is going to help to ramp up our chance for storms a little bit tomorrow. Here it is on the graphics, that strong disturbance swinging through and helping to bring us that risk for severe storms for the interior Northeast, for the Great Lakes region here. Cities like Cleveland, Binghamton, Syracuse, that risk for damaging wind gusts, for a little bit of hail as well. Quick look at the future radar on this. You can see today we've just got a smattering of showers and storms across the region. At 6 o'clock, there's going to be some around that could be impacting your drive home. Some of those mountainous roads are going to be impacted by that. But you'll notice by Wednesday, we see a better chance for some of those stronger storms popping up for the afternoon and evening. And Jen will have to watch that. But, you know, we're watching the storms across the eastern portions of the country. Meanwhile, in the west, we are sweating it out. Outside Hartsfield-Jackson Airport here in Atlanta, you can see here long lines, lots of people kind of just finding somewhere to be there in the airport. Frustrated travelers, of course, has been the story of travel, the last couple days since Friday. But you know what? It's not only the technical glitch. You've got to keep an eye on the weather because that has been causing some delays as well. I just want to remind you that, you know, I know everyone's getting frustrated. Maybe you've had a couple different delays, a couple different cancellations, and that really is tough. But remember when you're talking to the people working there at the airlines that they are doing the best and you don't want to take your frustration out on them. Now, we love to see this here. Here's some silver lining in our travel. We've got a green bubble at ATL. You can see the flights coming in and out. It is fine this morning in terms of weather delays. Across the south, that is the story that we've got lots of green bubbles on the map. So we're not seeing any major amount of airport delays. Same thing across the Northeast right now. That is the key to today. When those storms begin to bubble up later today, I think we're going to see this change a bit. So right now across the U.S., we've got lots of green bubbles, which means we're not seeing a whole bunch of airport delays anywhere. But watch what happens. Those storms begin to bubble up. We get some of those storms that are a little bit feisty, and we're starting to see some of our major hubs like in Chicago, in Atlanta, in Houston be impacted by some of those storms, which means we've got some weather-related delays possible later today. Tomorrow, same thing. Boston, New York area airports, again in Chicago, some showers and storms around, which is going to cause us some issues. And then wish I could say we were changing it as we head into, say, Thursday, but we are not. Many of the same areas that are dealing with that possibility for showers and storms, maybe delaying some of those flights. That is going to be the story for Thursday as well. Of course, it's not always about where you are or where you're flying from. Sometimes it's where your flight is coming from. Sometimes it's where you're flying to. So there are whole different things weather-wise that they're keeping track of. But, you know, as bad as the delay is, especially when it is weather related, you've got a thunderstorm setting right over the airport. As bad as that delay is, Jen, they do it to keep us safe. They do it to make sure that we're not flying into any terrible weather or terrible turbulence. So maybe remember that next time that you're getting frustrated about dealing with a delay.
Right. I know.
Don't take lightning as seriously as we should. And then when you see the real ramifications of how strong and dangerous lightning is, really kind of puts it into perspective.
Have you ever lost anything like a TV or, you know, your house or any equipment?
Yeah, I actually, in college, I lost my laptop to lightning. Yeah, it wasn't plugged into a surge protector. And you know, in college, that's like kind of your lifeline to do all your work. Luckily, I'd bought insurance on it, so it got replaced.
Oh, that was good.
I was very lucky, but it was, you know, a reminder for sure.
Well, you can go to Threads, send us your comments, also share your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV. Emergency crews.
Afterwards, if you have any of the burn scars, then the rain can create another problem because it can create mudslides if you're in mountainous terrain. So, you know, it's just like you want the rain sometimes, you don't want it other times, you don't want too much. Could we just get a happy balance? That is not at all what we're getting across the West right now, especially here for portions of Montana down through Idaho. You can see along that I-84 corridor, Washington, Oregon, going to have some of those fire conditions once again today. Red flag warnings, fire weather watches up. In Shelby, you're going to have that humidity decreasing as the temperatures increase, the relative humidity. So that is going to help up that chance of fires as well, not to mention the fact that we've got isolated dry thunderstorms in the forecast here, that elevated risk for fires, including cities like Great Falls. So we really do have a wide range of things that are coming together to bring us that risk for fire. And part of it is that dry air. It just creates so many different issues. You get the thunderstorm to form, which is what we could see today, some of those thunderstorms. If we could get the rain down to the ground with the lightning, it would be just fine. When you have high humidity, that does happen. But in a low humidity environment, like we're seeing where we have those red flag warnings, you get the thunderstorm to form, but then you've got high base clouds because the atmosphere is very dry. The rain ends up evaporating before it reaches the ground, but the lightning strike reaches the ground, creates a wildfire. And where if the rain was reaching the ground, it would put the wildfire out. But when the rain isn't reaching the ground, like in those dry lightning storms, that's when you get the problems. You can see scattered dry thunderstorms here across a good chunk of Idaho. This is tomorrow. We are seeing a more widespread area dealing with the isolated dry thunderstorms and the elevated fire potential. So do keep that in mind. We're going to see some of that lightning. You can see it here throughout the afternoon. Some lightning intensity through California, Nevada, Washington, Oregon, this whole really just Pacific Northwest down through the west where we're seeing that dry lightning is an issue, especially because it's been so hot as well. So a lot of the vegetation is drying out. It's just not good. Wildfires are what you might not want, that is maybe more rain. And New York, you're going to get a little bit more of it. I'm standing on the other side of the East River in Queens and Gantry Park, looking back at the city with one of the prettiest views you can find. Now, fog and clouds are going to give way to rain and storms that they're going to be staying here and sticking around during the week. So you're going to have that umbrella handy. You want to be on the lookout for flash flooding as well, especially if you're riding the subway. And speaking of subway, rain could put a damper on the Mets and Yankees subway series. That's tonight and tomorrow at Yankee Stadium. I think if I lived in NYC and I commuted to work with a lot of walking or riding the subway, I would invest in a really good, comfortable pair of rain boots, because there's something about having on rain boots that makes you feel just a little bit invincible. You're like, oh, there's a puddle. Doesn't matter. I'm going to walk right through it. That feels a little differently if your toes are out. I know it's summer and those rain boots can get hot, but still. It's 74 right now, cloudy. We've got rain moving in a little bit later, and that is going to be the case. More widespread raininess as we head through the middle of the week as well. Right now, scattered showers across this region. The heaviest rain that we see down east, Maine still dealing with some of that light rain, heavier pockets of rain beginning to move out. And then we're watching this complex of storms dive south through Minnesota. Looks like it's losing a little bit of its steam. Had quite a bit of lightning with it earlier. Still a little bit of lightning hanging in there. We've got this disturbance, a trough that's going to be swinging through. You've got that upper level low as well. And that is going to aid in the development of some of our storminess. And with its little bit of punchiness that it's got going on, it's going to help us maybe get to those severe levels. So our risk for severe storms from upstate New York, across northern Pennsylvania, back through portions of Ohio, Cleveland, Erie, Binghamton. I'm talking to you guys. You've got that risk for some feisty storms tomorrow, damaging wind gusts, one of the risks there. And then also you could get some heavy rain with this too. So watch what happens today. You've got scattered showers and storms, the mid-Atlantic getting in on this again. It's going to be another rainy day across portions of West Virginia, the Delmarva Peninsula. Wednesday, we start to head through the afternoon and evening, and you've got those storms bubbling up, rolling through as this trough swings through the northeast and brings us that chance for some stronger storms, heavier rain, lightning, all that stuff. And then, Jen, as we've seen, the wind can do damage all its own, so you want to take these storms seriously tomorrow afternoon.
That's such a visibility.
Yeah, you can see it in that video there. I feel like when you can kind of see the haziness and then you know you have the heat, you just know it's going to be one of those days that anything you do is draining.
It's not going to feel good. And we've got the smoke out there. To actually look back over the past 24 hours, so some of it is clouds, but a lot of it is smoke, and it's extended all the way down into Colorado, into Kansas, even in the skies over Iowa and Missouri, and to some extent into Missouri and up into Minnesota. Of course, you can see a haze in the sky, and that is wildfire smoke.
And if you didn't know what was happening because the wildfires are so far away, you might be like, why am I having this kind of tightness in my chest? Right. Why do I feel this little tickle that's making me want to cough? And it's because this wildfire smoke is so far reaching.
Yeah. Well, the heat and humidity can make it harder to breathe, especially if you have respiratory problems. Air quality plummets and can get even worse when wildfire smoke is in the atmosphere.
Meteorologist Alex Wilson takes a look at your health and these conditions and what you should know.
It can creep up fast, and you might just feel like you're out of shape. You're like, oh, I can work harder, I can work through this, but you really need to take it seriously, considering what we're dealing with, the smoke and the heat.
Yeah, it can really take a toll on your body more than you're even realizing it's taking, especially when you've got the smoke interacting with the heat, and then that is just going to absolutely exhaust you. That's why, the National Weather Service puts out these alerts for a reason, and that's why we have those air quality alerts to let you know it's unhealthy.
Washington, Oregon, parts of Idaho, a lot of Montana, and even into Wyoming, and then a good chunk size here of Colorado dealing with this, and including in the Denver area.
Yeah, and of course, it's the smoke, and that's part of it. But the other part of it is these well above average temperatures, the heat that we're dealing with. 106 in Boise today. That is going to exacerbate the impacts that the smoke is going to have on your body.
Yeah, it can accelerate some of the chemical reactions happening in the atmosphere. Plus, the heat already doesn't make your body feel good, and then you can't breathe because of the smoke. So you've got all of this, and it's tomorrow again. It continues into your Thursday and Friday. It's not until the weekend that we finally see some break in the heat anyway. Although the smoke, we'll see.
Yeah. So just hang in there. A little bit of relief is on the way.
The summer storms have been relentless.
You don't want to be dealing with that, of course, and that is what some of us might be dealing with. You can expect some delays. I have come to, and this has kind of become my my modus operandi, my MO when I'm traveling. If there's going to be any storms around, if I might be anywhere near a storm when I'm traveling, once I get up in the air and there might be some turbulence, I take my water, I take my snack with me. I don't just assume that I'm going to be getting one delivered to me anymore, because once it gets too bumpy, it's not safe, of course, for the snack service, the water service, the drink service. So you got to stay buckled in, and you don't want to be on a 2.5, 3-hour flight without any water for that whole time. Today, if you're traveling along the roadways, you might be stopping to take a little coffee break. If you're doing a long road trip and stuck in any of these showers and storms, sometimes it's just too much to drive for hours in the showers and storms. And they're becoming more numerous as we look across, say, Texas. You got those showers south of Dallas, all that rain that caused the flooding yesterday. That rain is now in between north of Del Rio and San Antonio with all of these flood alerts that we've got up. It's been raining there for hours, and it's not stopping. That rain knocking on your door in Austin, getting ready to move through San Antonio as well. And then you'll notice we've got an influx of moisture across southern Louisiana, across the Gulf coastal plain of Texas. Houston, you've just had sporadic showers so far, but we're going to continue with that chance for rain. So some flash flooding from Huntsville down through Houston, Galveston, Liberty, all included in that possibility. Jen, we're going to have rounds of rain here, some heavy rain at times, and that's going to be kind of the story for today and the next couple days for the Houston area. Well, let's get to do. You can just sit inside. And
did you see his handle, though? Boater guy?
Oh.
So I guess he doesn't want to take the boat out.
Well, I guess you could take the boat out if it's just rain showers, but as soon as you hear that thunder, you've got to be in, and that gets a little risky sometimes.
We were out on the boat my vacation in the rain.
Yeah.
And at first, we're like, oh, so it's raining. But once you're wet, you're in the water anyway. So why not go swimming in the rain?
Right. As long as you're not going too fast and they're like little missiles hitting you.
Yes. Fine. All right. Well, keep those comments coming. You can go to Threads, send us your comments, and share your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV.
We are dealing with some showers and storms once again, and it's kind of over some of the same areas that have been seeing it. Just take a look at this. We've had some storms dive southward through Minnesota, still watching one of those complex of storms making its way southward. And then you can see the rain and the wind reports that we had moving through the northeast over the past 24 hours. Still dealing with some showers and storms out there starting off our day, mainly light rain. That's really what a lot of us are seeing. But you can see the rain is kind of scattered around across Vermont, New Hampshire. The heaviest pocket of rain exiting out of Maine right now, but still just those scattered showers around this region, and that chance for showers and storms is going to linger around. Watching this complex of storms that's been diving southward through Minnesota, a little bit of lightning, heavy rain still associated with that. This is kind of following that larger general pattern that we have across the region. We're going to have this trough swinging through, and that is going to bring us the chance for more rain, more storms as it makes its way across the northeast heading into the latter part of the week. So the interior northeast, that chance for some severe storms for places like Syracuse and Cleveland, that is going to be with the gusty winds with maybe a little bit of hail and heavy rain. For a city like, say, Boston, you actually started out the year like really, really wet, and you're still a little bit above average in terms of your rainfall for the year. More than 6 inches above average in Boston, but you're below average so far for this month. So we are going to add some rain onto that there. We're going to have the scattered storms across the region on Wednesday. Some of those are going to be a little feisty across upstate New York. So we've got a couple different areas that we're watching for that possibility of, say, some flash flooding, some severe storms tomorrow. Buffalo back through Cleveland, Chicago, Indianapolis, some flash flooding possibilities. And then again along that 95 corridor where we've just had so much rain. We're going to keep the rain in the forecast for your Thursday, but look what happens. It's like, oh, by Friday, you start to get a little bit of a break. We see that clearing out a little bit more, and you'll have some better weather for the Northeast. Before all is said and done, Generally 1 to 2 inches of rainfall, maybe a little less than that in some places, but certainly maybe a little bit more, especially as you're looking farther south across southern Virginia or anywhere where we get that like locally higher amount of rain to add up. And here's where we need it. So we'll take some of that heavier rain where we really need it, where we've got that extreme drought showing up across portions of the Shenandoah Valley, a severe drought for a huge chunk of Virginia, West Virginia, back into Ohio. You really want some of that rain at this point. In D.C., same thing. It's been so hot there that it's finally getting a cool down and a little bit of rain. I think this area will take all they can get, Jen.
The drought is definitely getting worse.
In ATL, this is what it has been looking like inside of Hartsfield-Jackson Airport in Atlanta. You've got a lot of lines, a lot of people hanging out, finding a place to hang out. A lot of frustrated people still dealing with those travel delays. Just remind you, if you are one of those frustrated people, maybe you're getting ready to travel and you might be encountering some airport employees who have been dealing with the frustration themselves. Everyone just come with a little bit more understanding. Everyone's frustrated. Everyone's kind of not wanting to deal with this. And you would be surprised at what a smile can do, what a difference in service and how you're feeling, how much of a difference a smile can make. So at ATL right now, you can see the flights in and out moving just fine. No delays, sitting at about 84 degrees. That's no weather related delays anyways, so we will take that. Starting to see a few weather related delays popping up there at MIA in South Florida. Otherwise, we've got green bubbles on the map, green bubbles across the Northeast as well, but Northeast, Southeast across the country, we do have that possibility for some weather-related airport delays today. So now you can, of course, see that delay that we're seeing at MIA popping up on the map here. That is a possibility as we head through the rest of the day. Those weather-related delays with the storms bubbling up, whether it is Orlando, Miami, Atlanta, Chicago with some storms moving through. So anytime you have some of these major hubs, Houston impacted by the storms, you're going to see some of those flight delays because it's not always about where the weather or how the weather is where you are. It could be the weather where your flight is coming from or where you're going that is causing those delays. So we've got the yellow bubbles on the map tomorrow, expecting some airport delays, not tons of them, but certainly possible Thursday. Many of the same places that are seeing those weather-related airport delays today and tomorrow. That's going to continue into Thursday because we're stuck in much of the same pattern. You just got to remember that the delay for weather is to keep you safe. So sometimes it's better to be safe than be up in the air with all that turbulence, Jen.
Well, keep those votes coming. And also, we love your comments, obviously, so we can share them on the show. Go to Threads, send us your comments. Also, share your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV.
Yeah.
And we think of the Hurricane Hunter.
Then afterwards, if you have any of the burn scars, then the rain can create another problem because it can create mudslides if you're in mountainous terrain. So, it's just like you want the rain sometimes, you don't want it other times, you don't want too much. Could we just get a happy balance? That is not at all what we're getting across the West right now, especially here for portions of Montana down through Idaho. You can see along that I-84 corridor, Washington, Oregon, going to have some of those fire conditions once again today. Red flag warnings, fire weather watches up. In Shelby, you're going to have that humidity decreasing as the temperatures increase, the relative humidity. So that is going to help up that chance of fires as well, not to mention the fact that we've got isolated dry thunderstorms in the forecast here, that elevated risk for fires, including cities like Great Falls. So we really do have a wide range of things that are coming together to bring us that risk for fire. And part of it is that dry air. It just creates so many different issues. You get the thunderstorm to form, which is what we could see today. Some of those thunderstorms, if we could get the rain down to the ground with the lightning, it would be just fine. When you have high humidity, that does happen. But in a low humidity environment, like we're seeing where we have those red flag warnings, you get the thunderstorm to form, but then you've got high base clouds because the atmosphere is very dry. The rain ends up evaporating before it reaches the ground, but the lightning strike reaches the ground, creates a wildfire. And where if the rain was reaching the ground, it would put the wildfire out. But when the rain isn't reaching the ground, like in those dry lightning storms, that's when you get the problems. You can see scattered dry thunderstorms here across a good chunk of Idaho. This is tomorrow. We are seeing a more widespread area dealing with the isolated dry thunderstorms and the elevated fire potential. So do keep that in mind. We're going to see some of that lightning. You can see it here throughout the afternoon. Some lightning intensity through California, Nevada, Washington, Oregon, this whole really just Pacific Northwest down through the west where we're seeing that dry lightning is an issue, especially because it's been so hot as well. So a lot of the vegetation is drying out. It's just not good. Out of here, pretty humid as well. Your dew points up in the mid 60s. But the first showers of the day, they're going to roll in quickly. That's going to bring the chance for rain to continue tonight, tomorrow, and your Thursday before clearing out by the weekend in Beantown. So you're going to be dealing with some rain, putting a lid on the temperatures as well. You're going to notice those temperatures staying in the 70s tomorrow in Boston. Right now, you can kind of feel the humidity in the air. We've got cloudy skies, temperatures at 71, dew point at 65. So you are certainly feeling the saturation of that air with so much moisture. The atmosphere is going to use that later on and bring us some rain. Boston, you're sitting about an inch below average in terms of where you should be for rainfall so far this month. But if you looked at the year on total, you're 6 inches above average. So you started out pretty wet, but we've done a flip-flop on that. We've got rain across portions of the Northeast, New England, up through Maine, but that's beginning to clear out. We've been watching this same storm system diving its way south through Minnesota all morning. It's like the little system that just kept chugging. It's starting to lose some of its punch, but it is going to keep making its way south. All of this kind of associated and rounding around this trough. This is going to be what really influences our weather as it swings through across the Northeast, dipping a bit farther southward into the latter part of the week. That is going to help get the atmosphere stir it up a little bit more, give us a little bit of extra oomph, and help to get to those storms to some severe limits. So just an isolated severe storm possible through tomorrow for Cleveland, Erie, up through Syracuse, upstate New York. Much of you are included in that risk. The main risk with any of these storms is going to be damaging wind gusts, maybe a bit of hail, heavy rain as well. Mid-Atlantic, you're getting another round again today into the overnight hours. That's our first round. It's like round after round of showers and storms, so it's not raining constantly, but certainly we have enough that it could add up, and you could see some flash flooding issues here or there. You see those storms rolling through the interior Northeast through Wednesday, and then into Thursday, a little bit of rain around. The good news is by Friday, you'll start to see things clearing up a little bit, at least in the Northeast. So you'll have a better chance at maybe getting out there and enjoying some of our summery weather. Flash flooding is possible tomorrow from the Great Lakes region, and then we kind of gap it there, and then we take it back down to the I-95 corridor where we've had those rounds of rain, Jen. We're just not quite done with it, but for the areas like around D.C. that need the rain, I know they'll take it. Probably glad to see it clearing out though a little bit. You want some sunshine after a few days of rain. And yeah, you can see it in that video there. I feel like when you can kind of see the haziness and then you know you have the heat, you just know it's going to be one of those days that anything you do is draining.
It's not going to feel good. And we've got the smoke out there. To actually look back over the past 24 hours, so some of it is clouds, but a lot of it is smoke, and it's extended all the way down into Colorado, into Kansas, even in the skies over Iowa and Missouri, and to some extent into Missouri and up to Minnesota. Of course, you can see a haze in the sky, and that is wildfire smoke.
And if you didn't know what was happening because the wildfires are so far away, you might be like, why am I having this kind of tightness in my chest? Why do I feel this little tickle that's making me want to cough? And it's because this wildfire smoke is so far reaching.
Well, the heat and humidity can make it harder to breathe, especially if you have respiratory problems. Air quality plummets and can get even worse when wildfire smoke is in the atmosphere.
Meteorologist Alex Wilson takes a look at your health and these conditions and what you should know.
It can creep up fast, and you might just feel like you're out of shape. You're like, oh, I can work harder, I can work through this, but you really need to take it seriously considering what we're dealing with, the smoke and the heat.
Yeah, it can really take a toll on your body more than you're even realizing it's taking, especially when you've got the smoke interacting with the heat, and then that is just going to absolutely exhaust you. That's why, the National Weather Service puts out these alerts for a reason, and that's why we have those air quality alerts to let you know it's unhealthy.
Washington, Oregon, parts of Idaho, a lot of Montana, and even into Wyoming, and then a good chunk size here of Colorado dealing with this, and including in the Denver area.
Yeah, and of course, it's the smoke, and that's part of it. But the other part of it is these well above average temperatures, the heat that we're dealing with. 106 in Boise today, that is going to exacerbate the impacts that the smoke is going to have on your body.
Yeah, it can accelerate some of the chemical reactions happening in the atmosphere. Plus, the heat already doesn't make your body feel good, and then you can't breathe because of the smoke. So you've got all of this, and it's tomorrow again. It continues into your Thursday and Friday. It's not until the weekend that we finally see some break in the heat anyway. Although the smoke, we'll see.
Yeah, so just hang in there. A little bit of relief is on the way.
The summer storms have been really.
See your travel not have any delays. That's been something that's been really rare lately, right? With all the technical delays, the weather delays that we've had across certain regions today. We are expecting to see some of those airway delays for cities like Houston, back through San Antonio and New Orleans, as well as Little Rock. Really the Gulf Coast states, you've got a good chance, especially for those airports that are closer to the Gulf, seeing some of those delays. And then, of course, Little Rock, the possibility for delays as well once you get those storms to bubble up. It's not just the airways where we're seeing that possibility for delays, though. If you're traveling, you could be running into some flooding issues. We're seeing flooding problems around San Antonio, across portions of the Texas Hill Country, so please be careful if you're driving around there. Flash flooding is also possible. We've got the threat for rounds of rain, lightning, all of that. You can see kind of two different moisture slugs lifting north here. We've got these showers and storms that are trying to make their way through San Antonio, and then all the shower and storm activity that's lifting north through Texas and Louisiana. It is rainy out there, Jen. It's going to slow you down. Some of that rain is really heavy already.
Yeah, I want to get you caught up.